This is the documented record of Robert Eugene Huckabee and the Wolfe City Police Department. Robert Eugene Huckabee served as chief of police in Wolfe City, Texas, for years. By 2003, that position, and the department around it, was no longer operating quietly. What follows is not theory. It is what was publicly reported, what was documented, and what the timeline shows. On February 27, 2003, federal and state law enforcement officers served search warrants in Wolfe City. Records were seized from City Hall. Records were seized from the home of Police Chief Robert Huckabee. Multiple agencies were involved, including federal investigators and state authorities. At the time, reporting indicated the investigation was connected, at least in part, to funds received by the city following the December 31, 2001 ice storm. That is where the record becomes visible, not a rumor, not a quiet internal matter, a public search, a public seizure of records, a department that had drawn outside attention. In the months that followed, that attention did not fade. It intensified. By March of 2003, Robert Huckabee had been suspended without pay. And on June 3, 2003, a federal grand jury returned an indictment, 14 counts. According to federal prosecutors, the charges included extortion, public theft of money, and illegal possession of an unregistered firearm. Reporting at the time stated that the indictment alleged Huckabee used his position as police chief to obtain money and other things of value over a period of time. In one example described in coverage, prosecutors alleged that he protected a drug dealer from investigation and prosecution in exchange for cash payments. These were allegations presented in an indictment. They were not quiet. They were not internal. They were public, and they were federal. By June 17, 2003, the Wolfe City Council had fired Robert Huckabee from his position as police chief. But the record did not stop there. 2 days later, on June 19, 2003, reporting showed that the scope of the problem had widened. 2 former Wolfe City police officers were charged with filing false FEMA claims. The same reporting described the department as troubled and connected the charges to broader allegations of fraud and misconduct surrounding the city's use of disaster-related funds. At that point, the pattern was no longer isolated. It was structural. A police chief indicted, officers charged, city funds under scrutiny, outside investigators already inside the system. That is the timeline. That is the record. It does not require interpretation. It does not require exaggeration. It shows exactly what happened and how visible it became. And it raises a different kind of question, not just what one individual is accused of doing, but what happens to a department when the authority it carries begins to separate from the structure that is supposed to contain it. Because the badge did not disappear. The patrol cars did not disappear. The office did not disappear. From the outside, it still looked like a police department. But underneath, something had shifted. The authority remained. The appearance remained, but the integrity of the system had to be examined from the outside. That is the part that matters, not the headline, not the shock of the indictment. The fact that it took external investigation to bring the internal structure into focus, that is what the record shows. A department can continue to operate in form, even as its function begins to drift. Titles can remain. Uniforms can remain. Authority can remain, even as the system underneath it begins to change. This is not a statement about every department. It is not a statement about every officer. It is the documented record of one department in Wolfe City, Texas, at a point in time when its structure was tested, exposed, and forced into public view. The badge did not stop representing authority, but the meaning of that authority became part of the record. That is the lesson. Not that corruption exists, but that a system does not have to collapse to be compromised. It only has to drift far enough that someone else has to step in and measure the distance. My name is Cass Wakefield, and this is the Hunt County Signal. If there is a record, a department, or a moment in this county that has never sat right with you, leave it in the comments. Because around here, not every system fails loudly. Some of them just change shape while no one is looking.